and welcome. When you hear about a health or a fitness transformation, most of us think about a drastic reduction in weight. That wasn't the case for me. However, my results were still dramatic. The changes that happened were in very small increments, so I couldn't always rely on my scale weight to measure progress. Today, along with my special guest, we'd like to give you some tools to measure progress that go beyond the scale. Our approach with my transformation was plan, do, and review. Today we are discussing the review part, where we evaluate progress of the eating and workout plan. To help with that discussion, I want to interview my coach, Jim King. Jim is a certified personal trainer and sports nutritionist. He's a West Point graduate. He set a national record in the deadlift, and he has over 8 years experience as a photojournalist of Female Bodybuilding magazine. Please welcome Jim King.
Okay, cool.
So Jim, tell us a little bit about the plan.
Sure, the plan was to start with a basic 30-day program around 1,350 calories, and then add 200 to 300 calories at certain intervals as often as weekly to accelerate your metabolism. The goal, of course, is putting on more muscle mass, reducing your subcutaneous fat, or the fat between your skin and your muscles, and bringing body parts into proportion.
So how do we know if the plan is working?
Well, you start with the tools that you've been given. One is how do you feel? And we look at that digestively and hunger at certain times, energy levels, strength, stamina, and your recovery between workouts. But more importantly, how you look in the mirror. Okay? And pictures. If you take your pictures at certain intervals, you can see small changes. And your weight, we weigh ourselves. And we use a tape measure to measure our actual volume. When these changes are smaller, though, it gets a little tougher to make decisions. When you lose 5 pounds of fat, you're losing about this volume, and it can be easily measured and easily tracked, and you can actually see that in the mirror. When it gets a lot smaller and you're only losing 1/5 of that, or 1 pound a week, you're on less steady ground. And overall, losing 1 pound a week paints a wonderful picture across 4 to 8 weeks, but on a week-to-week basis, it leaves you a little shaky.
So then how did you measure the smaller changes?
Well, what we did was we measured you with calipers. And what we did, we picked 9 points on your body, and we measured those specific areas with skin pinches, and we actually measured the volume of fat between your skin and your muscles. And those totaled up to a total each week, and if it was reducing, you're on track. We will also use that information to calculate your percent body fat, and based on that, that should also reduce. But a really important factor, particularly with bodybuilders, is we compared the total millimeters that you had in those 9 areas and divided it by your body weight, and it gave you a fraction. If that fraction went down, you're losing subcutaneous fat, regardless of which way whether your weight goes up or down. If that factor goes up, it means you're losing muscle, irregardless of whether your weight goes up or down, and that is a way of making sure that you stay on track.
Great. Well, could you show us a little bit about how this works?
Okay, so why don't we just take a look at your chart. Lori started the ISA Body Challenge the first week of May. This is her 8 weeks into, or the first week of July. As you can see at that point, we wanted to cap her shoulders a little bit better. We wanted to increase the size of her biceps and triceps. We wanted to make her abs pop. We wanted to reduce the size of her thighs, and we wanted to build up her calves, as well as let her lats come out just a little more. 8 weeks later, we were able to accomplish that. You can see we did pop her biceps and triceps. Her lats did spring out. Her abs popped and showed defined and shredded. And we did reduce the size of her thighs and increase the size of her calves. We made judgments along the way based on a lot of factors. If we went by just her weight alone, it would have been a real rocky journey, because across that 8 weeks, she basically lost just a little over 2 pounds, close to 3 pounds. In 4 of those 8 weeks, she was actually gaining weight. But what it made it safe to make the decision to continue to increase her calories was the fact that her total inches was going down the whole time. But the insurance that we needed to make that decision that we were moving in the right direction was actually done by measuring her with the calipers. As you can see, her caliper changes across that 8-week period almost were a straight line, where she went from 87 down to 61 during that period. What we did was we measured her in 10 different places: her pec, biceps, abs, iliac crest, quadriceps, triceps, subscapula, kidney, hamstring, and calf. Totaling up those millimeters and dividing them by her weight gave us a fraction, and with this fraction you notice it continually went down across that 8-week period. That factor going down tells us that she was losing subcutaneous fat and not muscle as she was heading toward her goal. And with those caliper measurements, we were also able to calculate her percent body fat. And you notice during that whole 8-week period, her percent body fat was continuing down the whole time. So this is how, even though her body was changing by very small amounts, only 3 pounds across an 8-week period, we were able to dial her in and be comfortable raising her calories continuously the entire time.
Hey, this is Lori King, and I approve this message.